Mom, Dad, swimming. I'm not a water person. I prefer the desert. Don't drink water much. Not as much as I'm supposed to. Peeling back. Really peeling carefully. Finding. Forgetting. Feeling. Frightfulness. Lingering, singing. Pulling back. Forcing. Oh, squirrel and nuts. Can't eat them too hard. Hard to do this work. Finding my way. Losing my way. Faring okay. Fair-colored child. False information. Fomenting. Oh, it's new. Don't worry about it. Nothing to find. Forgetting. Inattending to things as important as attending to things. Turn off heater. Less noise. White noise. Directs attention to what's important. Finding. Forgetting. Filtering. I am and I am not, and not finding the answer to the question of fear. Free not to find the answer to the question of fear. I have an escapement personality, which means I like to sit up in the grass, look over the river valley. Breeds a strong vision, but afraid of people, culture, distortions, dynamite, fireworks that blind people, portraying their happiness. It's an interesting paradox. Fear-free attention. So free attention being a technique of psychoanalysis, developed most systematically and perhaps originally by Sigmund Freud in the 19th to 20th century. I'm interested in why books on fear that I read over and over again on my shelf as a fearologist, as a fear analyst, I don't find the word psychoanalysis mentioned or the technique of free attention utilized in how to be with fear, cope with fear, restore a relationship with fear, and to transform fear. It's interesting that that's virtually missing and not being attended to. Whereas free attention is all about attending to fear and then attending to what fear is not attending to, what you're not attending to when you experience fear, and what you're attending to when you experience fear, and who says you should attend to fear in a certain way, and how they say it, and how you do it, and obey or transgress, and are aware whether you're transgressing or not, how you're supposed to attend to fear. That technique I just practiced is something I just came up with. It's supposedly new. Because the double meaning is fear-free attention. So maybe it was an exercise all about attention, giving myself 4 minutes of attention on my attention to free associate, to think of whatever comes up in that limited time period. And of course, it's nice to witness that, whether I have a psychoanalyst in front of me, a fear analyst, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a friend, an intimate lover, or my own daughter. It doesn't really matter as long as somebody's attending and I can attend to myself through the reflective mirror, camera, and microphone of a recording studio. New technique that's talking about fear-free attention. So to free associate, Freud really meant to truly be fear-free in one's attention and what that attention is seeking as it explores and moves about, whether you're on the couch or sitting in front of a video camera, explores just moving from one thought to another, perhaps from feeling to another. 4 minutes is a very short period of time, and as you know, psychoanalysis, the minimum period is at least an hour of getting attention, and one can, of course, vary that, and one probably needs to practice, like any technique, practice over and over and over again. So this morning when I awoke is where this technique kind of arose. Of course, it's arisen from lots of reading I've done in psychoanalysis, listening to different psychoanalysts. And I've been attempting to create this analogy for about probably 20 years or more of between fear analysis and psychoanalysis. And I don't want them to be the same, and I don't want them to be completely different, and I'm looking for some kind of integration of the two. But I just noticed that fear management education type books and teachings and videos and all the gurus out there use techniques that are not from psychoanalysis for the most part in, confronting or trying to deal with or manage or conquer fear. So I'm not very happy with all of that because I think there's a very powerful base technique and approach here in psychoanalysis, what I'm calling fear analysis, and my variations, this new variation. Now, this technique I gave you, of course, is not refined and it's not completely theorized. I'm only just right now free associating on the technique of fear-free association. But interesting paradox, isn't it? Fear-free association and fear-free association technique. What I'm most concerned about, I think, this morning laying in bed, as I said, when this idea started to take shape, is that most all, 99.999%, in my estimate, is of techniques to deal with fear, for lack of a better term in the moment, simple, are based on immediately starting to talk about fear is and what is fear and how do we handle it. They are filled, 99.9% of the techniques around fear, let's put it that way, are filled already with this outpouring burst of so-called knowledge and experience and confidence of how to better teach about fear and how that will be effective for benefit. The list goes on. And either that or, go see experts if you're not in self-help around this work with fear work. So I wanted to demonstrate, as I say, performatively, experimentally, risking to fall into free associating, fear free associating, and see what would happen. See what would happen to you as a witness of this if you hung in there for 4 minutes. It's quite the contradiction to, and challenging to, the traditional fill it in, go into the blank, capture in a box, tie it up in a ribbon techniques of fear management, fear education today. And who knows, probably for a long time, this is pretty much what we seem boxed into and predefined by all the premises, associations, philosophies, theories, values, beliefs, worldviews that seem to keep containing these same repetitive understandings of fear and how to best manage fear. As a fearologist, as a fear analyst, of course, I'm not interested in all those boxes other than I'm interested to find out how they work, why they're there, and to continually push and transgress those boundaries and expand new possibilities in multiple dimensions of the fear problem. And whether it's my experience or whether it's yours or whether it's ours together, or whether it's the entire global systems approach to having this relationship with fear having a relationship with us, and where we can go to that in its lowest levels of simplicity right to the most complex, highest levels, if we want to call it, of very potency of what I call fearlessness path. So FFA was and is a potential exploration for approaching fear with attention flowing freely, fearlessly, quotes, as much as possible for a particular given time, and having witness to that process, and then I could free write, I could keep exploring this, which I will, keep theorizing on it, and or just notice thoughts that may come to me, feelings that may come to me during the day or right after this experience, things I might remember from the experience. And to remember that what the breakthrough here, if there's a breakthrough, may not be fireworks going off and, whoa, this changed my life. No, I don't want to get hooked on that need, that desire that gets obsessed into a need to get over fear. Sooner the better. Let's fill it all in. You see, it's in some ways I'm expanding the boundaries of what fear could be continually. That's the basis of the technique itself, is to not fill it in, but to free float within the space of the inquiry and the critical thinking that goes with it, and the feelings and the intuitions, whatever might go with it. Get a sense of that? Very different approach, much more a yin approach than a yang approach of the filling and masculine kind of phallic approach. A much more feminine, receptive, open to the space of inquiry, of and around free floating associations that might come up. So as I go back and I'll restudy this video, and you may want to too, you may want to try the technique yourself, that I'm really approaching a chance to reflect on a very different approach to fear for human beings today, and how that might be very useful even in the midst of a fear experience or panic experience. What if you were to do this free association technique rather than, or at least complementary with, all those fill-in approaches of control and mastery that want to quickly grab and box and wrap up and chain our experience, our knowledge, our knowing, our understanding, and keep in a way a very superficial understanding of fear, which is what I'll conclude the video by saying. That's my experience of 99.99% of the fear management techniques and teachings that are out there today. So that is a pause, giving space for my own fears, that I could be seen as really kooky, man. This guy is losing it. What's with the hat? What's with the... Why doesn't he create a much better video that has a music intro and a music ending, and people then will... He'll be popular. Won't be rejected. Well, because I'm really powerfully impacted by the deep and serious work of psychoanalysis, amongst many other types of psychologies and spiritualities and philosophies and so on, in informing the most intelligent, defense intelligent systems thinking in a holistic, integral way. So psychoanalysis is missing from the fear kit of techniques, and that's deeply disturbing to me. And I think it's telling and symptomatic of the inadequacy, the unwillingness to go into the places that are new possibilities in our relationship with fear. Talk to you again.